December. You've got to manage your expectations. Some things are going to be great and some things are going to be less great. And I can't rhyme things, but I know the one person that's here. Whatever happens in December, you've got to make sure that everything is going to be better next year. Hello, thank you for the one, and that person's gone, but they left me a like, so that's alright. Hello, Philip, how are you? Hello, other people that have joined me and are here after the fact. But it's December, We've got one more week of David Tennant and Catherine Tate to look forward to, but 2 weeks have gone, and a couple of weeks after that we've got Shooting That One to look forward to, but if you're not a Doctor Who fan, that's not really going to make any difference to you. All fine and all caught up with Doctor Who, and my arms are too long. Anyway, greetings. I'm not freezing. No, I put the heating on. My dad didn't really know how to put the heating on. It's got a sort of a little thing on the wall, a thermostat. But unfortunately, because he was turning it off at the boiler, it wasn't clicking through. So I was trying to program it and make the heating come on and off, and it wasn't doing anything at all. Nothing at all. But I've worked it out now, and it seems to be fine, and everything's tickety-boo, tickety-boo, tickety-boo. I've meant to go to Cardiff, but it's been so cold and horrible. But I've done stuff this week. What have I done? I went to a poetry reading where I read somebody else's poem, not my poem. But I also met the Welsh poet laureate for children, who lives in this area. I couldn't believe it either. He's always lived in this area. I've never met him before, but he only lives just up the road. It's amazing who lives in your own locality and you didn't know. So that's amazing. So that's really good. He's on his Instagram. He's a reporter for Weatherman Walking, and he also did Children in Need voiceovers for the Weatherman Walking special. Weatherman Walking, if you don't know, is where there's a guy that's weatherman in I can't remember his name. I could remember his name, but I've forgotten it now. Anyway, a man that does weather. He was a weatherman. He is a weatherman, and he goes walking around Wales, and he talks to various people. So that's interesting. I wonder who did that before he did that. Other people did that. But I tell you what, the National Poet Laureate of Wales for children, National Children's Poet Laureate. I'm not sure what his official title is. Anyway, he's a poet person. He said, "I recognise you. Do you do YouTube?" And I went, "Yes, I do. Amazing. Somebody recognises me from YouTube because he's seen my Canyon video." So I wonder whether they've researched my videos and then nicked them for Weatherman Walking. That hasn't happened because I'm sure they had the idea before me, but I have been walking a lot in the last several years. So, I mean, I haven't invented walking. To be honest, I didn't invent walking and talking and making little videos. I cannot claim to have invented that, unfortunately. Lem Sissay also was on BBC, normal BBC, well, BBC 4 if that's normal BBC, he had a camera on a stick. And apparently they've got a different person every week for that, and they do the same thing. So yes, I'm sure lots of people were walking and talking and filming even when they were younger than I am now. Yes, lots of times. So it's just yes, I've never been on Weatherman Walking, so and I've never been a laureate of any sort. A poet, yes. A laureate, no. And from the lyrics of these songs, I think you can guess why. But I've been published in Poetry Wales and Planet, the Welsh Internationalist, which is another Welsh thing, and other things like The Yellow Crane, which is published in Wales, and other things like Iota, which was published somewhere else. So I have been published in various things. So that's true. But what I was here, Veg Laureate, thank you, yes, that'll do. The thing yesterday was a book launch for a reprint of Mavangwi Haycock's poetry. She's a poet from this area where I'm living and where I was born, really, in this area. And she died quite a long time ago. But there's a local person called Jenny Crane, who's a BBC continuity announcer, who's very, very, very into Jenny Crane, because she got a book of hers when she was about 8, when there was another reprint of one of her collections, from her father, who's does a lot of local history stuff. So she's really, really, she was fascinated by Jenny Crane. She is Jenny Crane. She was fascinated by Mavangwi Haycock, and she went on to make a career as a continuity announcer on BBC. Apparently the only Welsh person on BBC doing continuity announcing. And so that's exciting, isn't it? So, and she asked me to do a poem. Yay! To read a poem. My mother also read 2 poems, because my mother is more impressive than me. I tell you what, this week I stepped in dog poo. I probably said it, and I was so upset and everything. Yesterday, when we were waiting for the bus to go home with me and my mum, after we'd done a mind-blowingly wonderful, successful poetry show and everything, we went shopping and got some stuff for lunch, and we waited for the bus, and I looked up and I was like, there's a lot of gulls, hundreds of gulls. It was like Alfred Hitchcock. There were so many. I mean, seriously, I've never seen so many. And I was like, well, the bus shelter was dripping, so it's like you didn't really want to stand inside. You didn't definitely want to stand outside with the gulls. And I was just like, ooh, those gulls, I hope they don't do anything on us. And I was just about to step into the bus shelter when they did do something on us, but not on me, on my mother. And I tell you what, the colour of the stuff that comes from birds is usually sort of pale, and I think it's got a lot of lime in it. It's quite corrosive. Well, it was very liquid, and it was very brown. It was pretty horrible. So that's too much information. But it was too much everything, really. It was bloody horrible. It was horrible. It was really, really, really bad. And everyone's like, oh, that's lucky. Well, it's lucky that it didn't land on your head. It's lucky for me that it didn't land on me, but it's not lucky. It was pretty horrible. I've never seen so much thing come from one bird. I'm assuming it was one bird. It was awful. So now I'm a little bit worried that we're going to get flu from the birds. The birds flew, and maybe so will we. Anyway, it was pretty horrible. So I don't recommend that. It wasn't lucky at all. Not lucky if a bird poos on you. Very unlucky indeed. But lucky for whoever didn't get done by the bird. Yes, it was horrible. Yes, exactly. That's what everyone says. It's very good luck. It was so much, though. It's good luck that there wasn't more, but there was a lot. Plentiful. Is it like guano? Is it only called guano if it's from bats? There was a lot of it. So much of it. So also Doctor Who yesterday. Doctor Who. All the girls have been. Maybe the girls had been drinking. What? Anyway, there was a lot of stuff. I failed to see the connection, but I'm sure I will in a minute. So yes, it was Doctor Who yesterday. Now, everyone was expecting a lot of different things. They were like, oh, this doctor's going to come and this thing's going to happen, and oh, there's going to be guest appearances, of which, spoilers, to think it's good luck. Yeah, I think they must have been. It's like morphal. Yeah. Anyway, spoilers for yesterday. None of that stuff happened. No, I did a 10-minute. It was going to be longer. A 10-minute sort of breakdown of the episode. If you want to go and see that. Nobody turned up. One person turned up right at the end, just as I was about to leave, and I was like. But then, I lost track because we got a shopping delivery halfway through, so I paused it. So I'd lost track of the time, and I thought it was a lot later, because it felt like a lot later. So I didn't wait until after the Doctor Who Unleashed, it's called. They used to be confidential. So nobody turned up, because I'm assuming people in the UK switched on to the Unleashed if they were interested at all, and everyone else wasn't interested. So I left it. I was going to do that one next week, but I'll do it just after 8. So that it gives time to watch Unleashed live if you want to, or come to see me, and we'll talk about Doctor Who. was filmed in Camden, which is interesting, in the market part of there, of which I visited not too long ago. I don't know whether I put something up on Short, might have done, but I was in that area fairly recently. It was one of the last things I did before moving away from old London town in my TARDIS, because I was pretending to be Donna and the Doctor, because my arms are too long. Anyway, so yeah, but I don't know where they filmed the green screen. It looks very impressive. As I said, my dad was like, oh, and my dad doesn't like Doctor Who. He was like, oh, that's very impressive special effects, isn't it? For a very short period, for a very brief period of time when I was watching it, when there was a sort of panning back, I thought it was going to be a Red Dwarf crossover, and I was like, that won't happen. That surely wouldn't. 8.5, okay, well, after 8.5, I will, so it'll be about 8.10. Give you time to settle down and watch me. So, 8:10 next Saturday, I will talk about Doctor Who with you, whoever's there. And if nobody's there, then I will talk about Doctor Who anyway. I don't know what's going to happen after next week's Doctor Who, but there'll be some stuff. There'll be Neil Patrick Harris. I'm not Neil Patrick Harris, but I've got 3 names too. I'm Elise Victoria Harris. Maybe I am Neil Patrick Harris. You never know. He's a man of many faces. I could be Neil Patrick Harris. Who he doesn't look like the toy maker used to, because it was somebody else. Michael Gough, was it? I don't know. Anyway, used to be someone else, and now it's Neil Patrick Harris is playing the toy maker. I don't think he's Celestial anymore, for some reason. But he did used to be Celestial, and now no longer he is. He's just a toy maker. Just a bog standard toy maker with a waistcoat, and hair, floppy hair, Victorian gentleman hair, for some reason. So I don't know what's going to happen. But oh yes, Bernard Cribbins was in it. We don't know whether he's going to be it next week, but he's no longer with us, so maybe he was only in those couple of scenes. Unfortunately, didn't get to film anymore. That was interesting, though. Yeah, so I don't know what anyone thought of it yesterday. Very briefly talked to Ollie afterwards, who didn't turn up because he was watching Doctor Who Unleashed, which is fair enough, because I had mistimed everything, as is my one. This week has been interesting. Like I said, I've done some stuff. There's been a lot of production from various animals landing or being stepped on or anything. It's been great. And also one of my good friends passed away, unfortunately, I heard, and that's not so great. But he was the person that I had a crush on at school. I've got loads of childhood diaries where I'm like, I wish you would look at me. I wish you would glance. Oh, so close. I spent one disco, spending the whole thing trying to get him to. I was like, at the end of this, I'll get my first kiss, and he'll kiss me, and it'll be so good. And I was like, la 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 la. I mean, he's a very good friend, and I think that's where I went wrong. He was my best friend of all time, but I was like, if only he would kiss me. And he kissed somebody else at the end of it. So I was never in with a chance there, I don't think. He was going out with, he went out with Kathy Brandon, who was the head girl. He was a great person, but I lost touch with him, as you do. And you know how you're obsessed with somebody, and then you just forget about them, and then you hear about them, and you're like, So that's made me quite sort of, memento mori. Memento mori? Mori. Potato. So that's sad. So this happens as you get older, doesn't it? Anyway, we bumped into somebody after the poetry reading yesterday, and I thought they said, we lost Carl this week, and then I told them the story about I was like, I'm so sad. And they were like, and then I was like, you said your car died, didn't you? And they were like, yeah, but I didn't like to say anything. It's like, not quite the same thing. Their car died and they didn't have transport. But I wasn't really listening properly, and I was maybe like, any time to. I wasn't really paying attention to what they said, and that's on me. It's like trauma dumping on them when they just wanted to talk about how they didn't have transport this week and they got a new car. It's a different thing altogether. Anyway, yeah, life is sad. Life is very, very sad. Yeah, what to say about that? I mean, it's not really... Yeah. Anyway, that was another thing that happened this week. I'm just... Oh, it's so cold and horrible and nasty outside. Yeah. And you get philosophical and start thinking about things and start... It's maudlin. That's what it is, maudlin. Not like the college maudlin, which is spelled different. Spelled Magdalene. But maudlin as in sad and sort of, you get self-indulgent really to think about these things, and it's, it's not really, when friends that you haven't seen for ages leave, it's like, is that really your trauma? No, it's not really about you. It just is sad. Moribund, exactly. Moribund. Like the Jacques Brel song. Moribund. It's which is Seasons in the Sun. Seasons in the Sun is an interesting thing. I used to listen to the English version of Seasons in the Sun and go, what? This is interesting. Has this man, he's like, this joy, there was sun, there was seasons in the sun. He's talking, goodbye Michelle, my only friend, goodbye, to all these friends of his. And I'm like, it's funny that they've all passed away. What's happening? Is he bumping them off? And I said this to somebody once. It's like, they're not going. He's saying this is the end. And he's like saying goodbye to them because for whatever reasons, this is the end of his. It's not to do with all his friends. I just assumed it was. It was like, how unfortunate that all your friends and family have left you in such circumstances. That's not what it's about. Goodbye, Michelle, my only friend. Oh, gosh. Yes, it wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. He's like, boo-hoo-hoo. I have to leave you. I'm sad about the end of my life. He's being quite selfish, really, in a way. It's like, goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, cruel world. So, whether he's going to do something silly, whether for some reason he's had a terrible, terrible news and it's just going to happen naturally. Anyway, he's just saying goodbye to his friends, not that they're all going. Which would have been, it's more unfortunate. I think that so many lives have been lost, and he's still here going, oh no, I've got no one left. It's like completely the wrong end of the stick. It's funny how you interpret lyrics sometimes, isn't it? It's just like interesting. Yeah, so Jacques Brel, there was a painter. No, he wasn't a painter. He was a singy songwriter. Jacques Brel. Have I got that right? Anyway, yeah. So also, about the time they called me Jackie, which has been covered a long time. Jackie, yes, about yes, authentic and phony. Yeah, I'm not going to say either of those words because I don't want to be cancelled. But anyway, that is the English lyrics. The English lyrics are quite. The French lyrics are more fun, but more dark in a way. Yes, the French lyrics. I like French songs. I like singing along to French songs in French, pretending I know what's going on. I can understand enough French to understand song lyrics and very basic magazines. But magazines, you don't. How long is it since anyone read magazines? Magazines aren't a thing anymore, are they? Nah. Nobody reads magazines, which is why I'm not working in magazines anymore. Although my dad met somebody who's writing for a farming weekly or farmer's almanac and told him that there was a job going as the editor. And my father was like, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't think anything would come of it. But so there's a job going as editor of a farm. What do I know about farming? And it's been quite a long time since I worked on magazines as well. Yeah, I don't know, print journalism. I like print journalism. I used to like working on print journalism. I did do, like when I worked at the Brecon and Radnor Express and and also the Ross Gazette. I'm like, where did they work? The Ross Gazette and the Brecon and Radnor Express, because they were in farming areas. I'm not unfamiliar with farm writing, and I suddenly had dreams of all the things. I was like, oh yes, I could be the editor of Farmers Weekly Almanac edition Gwent region. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what it is. I don't really know whether this is actually a thing that exists. But I could write for them, and then I could be like on Weatherman Walking, yeah, or Country File. I could go and present Country File, and I just watched it a couple of minutes ago, and one of the people's leaving. So there's a space for me to be in Country File. What do you know about the country? Nothing very much, but I'm living in the country, yes. And I've been for walks. So, and I've also, I've been for walks in the country, and I could edit Farming Weekly. Exactly, I could put a Georgia Wolf in, quite right. Talking of which, I put up pictures of Animal Farm that I was in with the person that passed away this week, and also fairly famous people, not famous, but somebody that was in Doctor Who, and somebody that was on the West End, and somebody that's been in loads of things. Oh, where will it end? So I put up pictures of Animal Farm this week. I was Benjamin the donkey in Animal Farm. Benjamin the donkey says very depressing things like, no matter how much things change, they always remain the same. Anyway, I was Benjamin the donkey in that. I put up pictures of all the animals, including a cat who was played by Marley Calder, not Molly Calder, who played the harp. There was somebody that played the harp at the poetry reading yesterday, so all what goes around comes around. And my mum was talking to this girl about the harp and saying, do you know who Harpo Marx was? And she's like, no. You'd think that she would know the most famous person in the world who plays the harp, but nobody knows who Harpo Marx was anymore. She didn't know who Harpo Marx was, but she said she'd look him up on the internet. So that's a good thing about the internet. So my mum was talking like, I don't know whether she was Gen Z or Gen Alpha, but she was quite young, so she's obviously younger than the Marx brothers. The Marx brothers haven't been around for quite a few years, so I suppose it's not that surprising that she didn't know who they were. What a shame that all history is lost. Nobody... And also I read an article about David Tennant, who... This is probably the last you'll see of David Tennant, because people don't even remember David Tennant being in Doctor Who before it said... Yes, exactly, Philip, exactly. So, whoa, used as reference of the page for Brecon. No Wikipedia page, no. There's no Wikipedia page for anything that I was involved in. This is an interesting thing, right? So I'll go back on whatever I was going to say. Oh yeah, what I was going to say about Doctor Who is it's very sad because they were like, now that Ncuti Gatwa's going to be in it and it's going to be on Disney, then the importance of all the Doctor Who's that came before has sort of faded and they're not important anymore. I was like, outrageous. The history's still important even if it carries on. So, what I was going to say about that is all the things that I've ever been involved in have had their Wikipedia pages either not there or stripped. Like I won a Super Shorts award and for a Super Shorts film competition for a talent circle. Now I don't think there's any reference of that on Wikipedia or on the internet in general. Brecon and Radnor Express, nothing. Ross Gazette, probably nothing. I've written books, no mention of those. Films, no films that I've been in are mentioned on the internet at all. Nothing that I've had, and Pontypool College is closed. I went there. I went to Nen College, Northampton, which does not exist anymore. It's now University College, Northampton. They've changed it, and the buildings that I had studied in have also gone. It's like, what is somebody trying trying to like scrub all references to me from the world. Everything that I've ever done has been scrubbed from the world. What is going on? It's very strange. Maybe I am. It's like everything that I've ever been involved with has disappeared without a trace. Including me, obviously. And I was saying, you know, because of all the sort of moribund and depressing things that have been happening this week. You're thinking about it. And somebody also said about how they are the mother of only sons, and that means that the line of females is going to end with them because of the mitochondrial DNA that goes through mother to daughter to daughter to daughter to daughter. And although the sons get that, they don't pass it on to their daughters. Their daughters get their mothers. Anyway, I haven't had daughters, or anybody for that matter. My brother has had a daughter, but he won't get the mitochondrial DNA from my mum. My mother had 2 sisters. Her sisters both had sons. That wasn't going to... My grandmother had 2 sisters, but one of them I think had sons, and the other one didn't have children at all. So you're going back quite a few generations before that is going to be passed down. But the thing is, I know that my MDNA, that sounds wrong. My maternal DNA, it's actually H3 apparently, according to 23andMe, and H3 is not that uncommon. So if you go back further, then it's going to be passed on. And also DNA is a bit weird anyway, because the autosomal anyway, the DNA that gets passed on, that's not the Y and not the X. I obviously don't have, as far as I know, have a Y DNA, but who even knows? But it didn't show up, so fine. And so anyway, the Y DNA also goes down through the father's line, and that goes direct, so son. So my brother is going to be passing on my father's DNA, so that's going to last. Because he had sons, so that's going to carry on. Good evening, Terry. Yes, so it's I'm the opposite of Donna Noble. Okay, so anyway, it keeps going on, and yeah. So I'm not going to pass on any, and so that's dead. That's gone. That's H3. It's not rare. So and the way that DNA works is it gets to. So I've got the same DNA with my nephews and nieces as if I was their grandmother or father. It's like that much DNA, although it's split in different ways. So really, when you've got and also about 8 generations down the line, even if you had descendants, that a little, once you've got to about 16. I mean, once you've got to about 4 or 5 generations, actually, it's starting to fade away. You might not share any DNA with your 4th great grandparents, I think. It's a little bit, but once you get to 8th, once you get to 16th, it gets sort of like, oh, yeah, it fades away. And it's like, it's irrelevant really, DNA wise. It's nice to pass on your family DNA, but it goes, and also I've got thousands of DNA relatives according to Ancestry and 23andMe, and also my heritage. I've uploaded it everywhere, so it's like, oh, let's see who else I'm related to. And some of them I'm like, they seem quite closely related. I've got no clue who they are, and there's thousands of people that seem to be random, completely random. They're related to me. So it's not like that DNA isn't well spread, really. So that's irrelevant. But I was like, it ends with me, which means that I have to make me important. And me is not important. Me has made no impact on the world at all. I'm thinking maybe I can be like Emily Dickinson. Maybe I can be like Van Gogh. But that would mean that I would have to wait until after I am gone before anyone knows who I am, and that's no good to me. I want to know whether they know who I am now. Although, a legacy is important. Those 2 people did lots of things in their life, but nobody knew about it in their life. I know they're very famous, but they didn't know about it. What good is that? So there are several people that have made an impact. Isaac Newton, talking about Doctor Who, didn't pass on his genes, but you know who he is. But you sort of knew who he was in his lifetime. And now there's a big controversy about the casting of that. Now, controversial opinion about casting. I think that anybody should be able to play a cis man or woman, no matter who they are. I think that anybody should be able to play somebody who is in history, probably no matter who they are, unless it's, maybe if specifically, right? I think there are parts that, I think disabled actors should play disabled parts. I think people that are trans should probably play trans parts, and also can play any other parts. I think, what I'm thinking is it doesn't really matter. And also, Ben Kingsley, he played Gandhi, and he has got Indian ancestry, but everyone was like, oh, but he's not Indian. It's like the person that played Isaac Newton, he's half Indian, I believe, and so, So I think somebody that, Keanu Reeves played Buddha. The Buddha. Keanu Reeves is part Chinese, but he's also part other things as well. I think you should still play it. I think Rami Malek is Egyptian and played Freddie Mercury, who is he's got Indian or anyway, he's got ancestry. But it's like, people should be able to play people. Yes. I think it is. I do too. Colourblind casting is very good. Does it matter? No, it isn't. And I like Queen Charlotte, and also there's a case to be made for yes, maybe. And also, and yes, can they play it? Was it good? Yes, alright, that's fine with me. Yeah, so people, Blackbeard in Our Flag Means Death is played by somebody who is half Marian, half Jewish, and it's a character who is a character from Bristol. So what? And also Rhys Darby is also from New Zealand, is playing an English gentleman who was born in Barbados, I think, and that makes no sense really, because he's got a New Zealand accent, but he's still playing him. These are real people, by the way. Does it matter? No! Does Blackbeard good? Is Blackbeard good? Yes. And also, Taika Waititi also played the Moustache Man from Germany, and also that was pretty good too. I think that was a successful casting choice. Excellent choice for casting there. So, and it can say something about the character as well, because obviously he's half Marian, half Jewish, and he's playing the Moustache Man. The reason I'm not saying him is I don't know what the limits are of how you get cancelled on YouTube anymore, and how they go, no, you can't say these things. I don't know. There is a limit to whether you can say things or not. Everyone's like, you shouldn't censor yourself, or there's not really any censorship. It's like, I think that probably for somebody that's a very big creator or a big publication, there probably isn't. But for other people, there probably is. There's double standards apply. Anyway, I'm going to see you next week, and I'm also going to do a Doctor Who after thing about 8:10, probably next Saturday. So I'll see you twice. The shopping will probably come around the time that I was planning to do this, so maybe it'll be a bit later than that. But certainly sometime after 8:10, look out for me, because I'll be here. And I'll be here next Sunday as well. But in the meantime, have a lovely Sunday. Have a lovely December. I will try to be warm, Marathon. Colourline casting is good. I think everybody should be able to play things. And men should be able to play women, and women should be able to play men, and trans people should be able to play women and men as well if they want to. And I think people should be able to play whatever they want and do anything they want. Yay, within reason. As long as they don't do anything illegal, obviously, because that would be bad. But I don't think that applies to acting. Is there a legal way to act? Maybe there is. Anyway, I will see you next week, and everything's great. See ya. Bye-bye.